Ariko Tamaki and Amanke Nahulpan bring the fear to Gotham City as the hostage situation in Arkham Tower gets worse for the heroes as Mr. Freeze is unleashed upon Huntress, while another villain begins his plan for revenge against the city. Ariko Tamaki ups the stakes even more for the Bat family this issue as the book catches up on the scenes we saw in the very first issue of the story, spilling the chaos of the tower out into the streets as the inmates continue to kill their way through the tower staff. Helena finally gets the focus of this issue as she is forced to battle Mr. Freeze. While we were given hints of Helena's violent outbursts which we saw in earlier issues of the book all tied back to Vile, I found it strange it wasn't fully brought up here since this is the whole reason why she was in the tower to begin with, to get help for that. But here we never saw a moment of her turning that rage onto Victor, which looked like that's where the confrontation was going, but it never really amounted to that. The story takes an interesting turn, however, as Scarecrow makes his return, being that Scarecrow was definitely being treated at the tower at the time and we never got to see exactly what he was being treated for and how he was being treated. So I'm looking forward to the Bat family going up against him to save Nightwing, but I do hope it's not some last minute save by Batman now that we know that Batman is back in Gotham. Amanke Nahulpan taps in as the story's artist, employing a great gritty look at the chaos of the hostage situation and playing with the colour red like the first few issues did, bathing the tower halls in a red light to help sell the pretty terrifying situation the people inside find themselves in and giving off a great horror aesthetic to the book. Detective Comics issue 1055 was a great issue that upped the stakes even more for the Bat family as the story ties to Fear State begin rearing their head with a surprise villain appearance that adds an interesting spin to the book's events. However, I did hope that they would be doing more with Huntress by now. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Detective Comics issue 1055 finds Dr. Weir thrown from Arkham Tower as the news reports on the hostage situation, with the GCPD in a standoff with the various inmates who now run the asylum. All of the reporters begin wondering who, with Batman still missing, will bring the nightmare to an end. Chase Meridian meanwhile has been tied up in one of the now bloodied operating rooms. She's forced to watch as Weir's body plummets from the high-rise as Batwoman asks the team if they know anything about the tower's security systems, other than it being controlled by the inmates now. Oracle says that they are having a hard time tracking down the company responsible for installing the system since they aren't on any of the books, which makes Barbara wonder if they got some connection to the Penguin or the party crashes, which if it does, it could mean the whole building is booby-trapped or rigged in some other way other than security. Kate asks if they have heard from Steph, but Barb knows that her audio cut out when the attack begun and nothing is being done by Nakano, who is still in shock after his wife was found to be in the building. The news soon learns that Nakano's wife is in the tower as Nero, Anna and Siphon know that they now have the upper hand and the people fear them. Anna wants more power, however, the same power Weir used on them, but Siphon thinks the source of their power is now Street Pizza below. Anna knows that there was something more at play there, having heard his voice as Psycho Pirate is carried down an elevator shaft by Nightwing, who tells the villain to just relax as Oracle's comms come back on. Dick tells her he's taking Psycho Pirate down with him since a minute ago he collapsed on the ground and he needs to get the villains out of the hands of Siphon and the others. Oracle tells him that as soon as he takes down the security systems, he will have backup, as Koyuki meanwhile hides herself away from Anna Volsion, who stalks down the red-tinted hallways, thinking someone should pull on the heartstrings of the mayor. She soon finds Koyuki, but Helena attacks Anna, telling Koyuki to run. Helena, however, is ambushed by another patient who stabs her and throws her down an elevator shaft. Helena doesn't die though, grabbing one of the cables, finding that she was stabbed with a spoon of all things. Helena manages to climb the shaft, getting into one of the floors when she is suddenly shot at by Mr. Freeze, who has fully equipped himself with his cold gun and armor, saying the tower kept all of their equipment. Helena says that he spent almost a month in therapy and she is sure it's given him some great insight as to why wearing a spacesuit and shooting ice is bad, but Victor fires on her again, proving Helena wrong. Trapped in a hallway, Helena is forced to fight as Freeze seals up the hallway behind her. She kicks him in the back as Victor demands to know who controlled them, but Helena doesn't have the answers for him as a hole opens up in the floor below them thanks to all of the ice. He eventually grabs her, stabbing his hand into her open wound in her side and hurting her as Nightwing spots the villain from the shaft he was climbing down. Victor says that he had heard Helena had visions of violence now, wondering what does she see and if she can see her own end. Helena says that all she sees is a giant frozen baby as Nightwing confronts the villain. Psycho Pirate, however, tries to escape Nightwing's grasp, distracting Dick, who is kicked in the face by Victor, causing Dick to slide down towards the open frozen hole that had formed in the ground. Helena knocks Victor out as Nightwing slides down the hole, disappearing into the darkness. Koyuki meanwhile traverses the dark hallways, finding herself unable to do this since she is no superhero. She calls for someone to help her as Psycho Pirate grabs her from the darkness. Dick meanwhile awakens tied to a chair, told to wake up by Scarecrow as Koyuki talks with Psycho Pirate, who says that he was meant to save the woman and make it all work to keep himself safe and all of the inmates safe. He knows that he failed and now his friend is dead and they are all going to die in the tower and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Siphon meanwhile delivers their demands to the police, wanting a helicopter for every patient and $1 million each. Suddenly, a gas grenade is thrown into the room, exploding fear toxin all over them as a voice says that Siphon lacks the vision to lead the uprising and Gotham tried to smother its fears and cure them, but there is no cure for fear. Scarecrow appears with the captured Nightwing, telling the hero and the other patients that it's time for his revenge.